Ha-ha! It's snowy here in Grosse Pointe, Michigan. And, I should put on my seatbelt. Always a good idea. Alright, so we had a good time talking today. We had a really powerful service last night at Revival Church. And hit on the topic of intimate encounter and how it's an issue where we have got to nail this thing. We've got to figure out this encounter intimacy thing in the church. And I tell you what, I am so radically concerned regarding even people's eternal security. People in the church. I had a dream of being dragged toward hell. You can listen to the account online. Just do a search at media.johnburton.net. Do a search in the media player there for The Terror of Hell, or you can get the book. But I was dragged toward hell and was completely shocked in that dream. Couldn't figure out why in the world I was going to hell. And I won't go into the whole dream here, but at the end of it, the next day I was praying, and I said, God, what was that all about? And he spoke, and he said, John, there will be many in the church who will be shocked to find themselves in hell one day. And it's a message that I can't even explain to you how hardcore it is for me, and I can't even think of hell for more than just a few seconds before I have to shut it down. It's that traumatizing. So the idea is that salvation is linked with intimacy, and everything cover to cover in Scripture is about intimacy. In the garden, it was all about intimacy and taking dominion. That was the big idea from day one: intimacy and taking dominion. We see when people have an encounter with God, two things happen. There's intimacy, and there is mission. And all of a sudden, Moses in the burning bush had an encounter with God, and he could not deny for the rest of his life what his calling was. We see John on the Isle of Patmos. He said, I was in the Spirit on the Lord's Day. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's Day, and behold, and he experienced, he encountered God. And he had a revelation. And so this is huge. I'm so concerned that there are churches out there that are not encounter focused. They're not presence driven. There are people out there that, good folks, say their prayers, pay their tithes, go to church, yet this whole idea of encountering God and knowing Him at an intimate level is foreign. And it's a major, major, major issue. And so, we need to see Detroit taken, and the only way that's going to happen is if we discover intimacy and mission. We've got to do both of those. And of course, our strategy is to call the entire city of Detroit together, every pastor, every believer, every Friday night. Every pastor, every believer, every Friday night. And so what we're doing is we're praying in the Spirit at the lab, different church every week, for an hour and a half, and we're reading Scripture for a half an hour. And you talk about a movement of intimacy and encounter. Oh my gosh! And so and I'll tell you, when I was in Colorado Springs, there were few pastors that would participate in secret prayers, what we called it back there. And it was heart-wrenching, absolutely heart-wrenching. And, and the takeaway from that, one of the takeaways is that pastors generally just don't pray. That there's not a lifestyle of prayer. And so we're emphasizing that, a lifestyle of prayer. Prayer is the main thing. Prayer should be the number one thing. Again, Dutch Sheets told his church, that when he was pastoring in Colorado Springs, that the church is not a house of evangelism, it's not a house of teaching, it's not a house of fellowship, it's not a house of small groups, it's a house of prayer. That's what the church is. So everybody in the church should be interceding for the nations. We're all people to be people of intimate prayer. And I heard him say recently, and I've said the same thing, what if every church in the nation shut down every program, everything, every Sunday service, everything, and in its place just prayed and read Scripture? What would happen? Well, the nation would be taken in a day. I mean, it would just be an almost instant revival. And so, wow, just amazing. Oh, look at that. I don't know if you can see it. There's ice everywhere. There's this nice little pool right there. Can you see that? Nice little pool where all the duckies and swans are swimming. Everything else is a frozen tundra. So, anyway, so that's the big idea there. And I'd love to hear what you have to think about that. I'm a little sad the Bears didn't make it to the Super Bowl. Skyler is sad. Kind of a sad night. Pretty disappointing, but it's another topic for another day. And hey, here's another topic for another day. What do you think? This is just, I posted this on Facebook and started quite a little conversation. What do you think about tambourines in church? Tambourines in church. Meaning people bring their tambourine anytime of the service. They can just start playing the tambourine. What do you think about that? My opinion is I do not like tambourines unless they're played with skill as a part of the worship team. So we have everybody in our church, if they want to play the tambourine, they have to be on the worship team. Take lessons. And, so that's something there. I think it's a good idea. I mean, wouldn't it be, we might have different, those pro tambourine people might have different ideas out there if someone brought a trumpet and they just played the trumpet throughout worship anytime, even during the real slow stuff, and they're just... We might have a different thought. We might have a different thought if, someone brings a saxophone, or what if someone wheels in their own piano, starts playing, and they can't play at all. They have no skill, but they want to bang on the keys during a service. What if that happened? What if someone brought a megaphone and started shouting through the megaphone during worship or during the sermon? What would that be like? And so what do it's this exact same thing with tambourines. I don't know how tambourines got past the decent and in order clause. No one brings pianos or saxophones or trumpets or whatever just to play in a church service. Why are tambourines exempt? What happened with all of that? I guess in some churches a djembe might fall through the loophole too. But what do you think about tambourines in church? I've known pastors that would actually hide the tambourines. People would bring them, and they would hide them in a closet somewhere, never to be seen again. So, and I think it's a good way to check someone's heart too. I just taught on becoming unoffendable, and you can find an independent spirit really quick if they bring their tambourine, and then you ask them to be a part of the worship team, and you see if there's any rebellion in the mix there, or an independent spirit, or offense, or whatever. There's a lot of different ways that we can help people through their struggles and discover kind of what their disposition is. So anyway, what do you think about all that? Talk to you later. Bye.